Count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put your hands together as you welcome yourselves to the second edition of the Ghana CEO Summit and Awards. I am, by the grace of God, Jerry Ajololo, and it gives me great joy to welcome you on behalf of the CEOs Network Ghana in partnership with Deloitte as we hold the second edition of the Ghana CEO Summit and Awards. This year, we've chosen a theme that reflects a global trend and its digital innovation economy for business growth. The theme is particularly appropriate given the trend that the world is engulfed in right now. We're blessed this morning to be joined soon by our guest of honor, the President of the Republic. Ladies and gentlemen, in absentia, shall we recognize Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And also to be joining us for this very august event will be the Minister for Business Development of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Mohamed Awal. A round of applause for him too. But before they join us, may I have the pleasure of walking you through the event flow for the day. This morning's event can be broken into two. We have two plenary sessions, one being the opening plenary, and the second, which would contain two panel discussions with themes chosen to revolve around this overarching theme that we're reflecting on. We shall have an introductory remark from the organizers of this summit. Thereafter, we shall have a speech from our partners, Deloitte. Thereafter, we shall move into the theme, a foundational address on the theme, Digital Innovation Economy for Business Growth, which will be delivered by one of our very renowned CEOs. Thereafter, we shall have our guest of honor come through. He will deliver his keynote address, and then there will be an executive discussion with him here, which will be moderated by the Dean of the Gimpa Law School. Thereafter, ladies and gentlemen, we shall crown it all off with one very insightful panel discussion, which will be moderated by our own Inshira Addo, the head of talk at Multimedia. But distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me just announce to you that by the kind courtesy of Tigo, we have free Wi-Fi connectivity here for you to catch up with what's happening in your office. You may just log in and it's free, but you can interact with us on social media using the hashtag Ghana CEO Summit. On Facebook, we are Ghana CEO Summit. On Instagram, we are GH CEO Summit. And on Twitter, we are Ghana CEO Summit. I trust that your expectations will be met as you constructively engage with us this morning. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome all of us on behalf of this great summit, the CEO of the Ghana CEOs Network and the founder of the Ghana CEO Summit. Please welcome Mr. Ernest de Graft Ejiri.
Hello. Good morning to you all. I'm happy to see you all. It does feel like a decade ago when we had the first Ghana CEO Summit. We have looked forward to this day since the end of the first. It then feels like yesterday when you translate it into the work that went into organizing the second one. His Excellencies, the Presidents of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Minister of Business Development, Mr. Ibrahim Awal, Honorable Deputy Minister of Finance, Mr. Kwaku Kwarteng, distinguished CEOs, present, representatives of our learning partners, Deloitte, representatives of our sponsors and media, ladies and gentlemen, these coming days will see our media landscape, traditional and contemporary alike, with splashing headlines of this event. The outcome is not the result we seek from this summit. The purpose of this summit is to bring us all together in an atmosphere of learning, insights sharing, sparring, and above all, unearthing the most viable ways of making our economy work in the face of global trends in an atmosphere of cross-sectorial network. We also seek for the conversation that will arise from our plenaries and panel discussions to continue in all forms, in the media, our boardrooms, our product research and development sessions, management meetings, team building sessions, and build habits around these discussions to foster a true transformation of our economy. As business and organization leaders, our task goes beyond creating public buzz around our products, services, and initiatives. It goes beyond the everyday deliveries to churning out time-tested solutions that have ripple generational effect. This does not happen in our offices, not even in the closed-door board meetings. The solutions are out there. The solutions are in the cloud. The solutions are in your networks. The solutions are digitization. The everyday life of a corporate leader can be lonely. It gets even more challenging when factors impacting on his vision are beyond his control. How does one overcome such and still grow in a world of nanosecond transformations? I bet we could leave this summit to read the next day that the innovations so largely discussed here have been replaced by even sharper ones. The theme for the second Ghana CEO Summit, Digital Innovation Economy for Business Growth, will have delegates leave the summit with key strategic management and business development insights, enhanced understanding of the drivers of contemporary business growth, unearth new strategic partnerships and alliances through high-level networking with its resultant business growth potential. You should promote your companies as well, for you to discover and explore best practices from peers whose deliverables are evident in the space they occupy in our economy. He also broke up B2B deals for increased value creation for their respective companies. Ladies and gentlemen, the digital revolution is bringing about changes in modes of production and patterns of consumptions, in how we understand the world, in how we govern, and even in how we live together in society. The digital economy is, however, a double-edged sword. It presents risk as well as opportunities, and the chances of inclusion as well as exclusion. It provides new prospects of growth for us as local players, as well as for international players preying on our markets. The digital economy is developing rapidly worldwide. It is the single most important driver of innovations, competitiveness, and growth, and it holds huge potential. Unfortunately, most of CEOs are yet to exploit this gold mine. How Ghanaian businesses adopt digital technologies will be a key determinant of their future growth. New digital trends such as the cloud computing, mobile web services, grids, social media are radically changing the business landscape, reshaping the nature of work, the boundaries of enterprises, and the responsibilities of business leaders. These trends enable more than just technological innovation. They spur innovation in business models, business networking, and the transfer of knowledge and access to international markets. The public sector cannot exist without the private sector. But an efficient public sector solely stands the growth of private sector. I once again make the call on the government to engage relevant stakeholders in critical analysis and privatize state-owned enterprises. This call is towards higher efficiency and profitability. The prospective benefits of the privatization of SOEs will inure to all stakeholders, a higher efficient operation for the enterprise, greater value to customers and citizenry, and higher earnings for the government. We do not make this demand on the business as usual basis. Neither do we seek to have the SOEs handed over to the private sector solely for maximum profits at the detriment of the beneficiary and finally run it down. We seek to present a private sector that is ready with leadership, capability, more efficient operating models, and the willingness to take the risk otherwise difficult in the public sector space. There are very capable men and women ready to run current loss-making SOEs into very attractive enterprises that respond to the modern trends of business today. Today, the world over private sector invests goodwill in the states and in turn makes demand through the right levers, such as the Ghana CEO Summit for environment that cultivate the right business outcomes. The Ghana CEO Summit is not different. The relevance of platforms such as this have engineered economic directions in Asia, the Pacific, and the Americas, where outcomes of such summits have impacted governance, business, and the corporate lives of leaders. We seek through this platform to initiate and enhance existing transformation that seek to grow our economy in a space of dialogue. We therefore count on all of you present to continue in your unique capacities to have the reason to meet here again for the third Ghana CEO Summit in 2018. Over the 2 days, we shall participate in plenaries, listen to insights, and share in panel discussions in these 2 days in areas that we hope will begin the conversation with impact. I take this opportunity to acknowledge our partners in this journey, Deloitte, our learning partner, our sponsors and partners, the CEO Network Ghana and its associates, our very busy executives who have agreed to grace the occasion as distinguished panelists and moderators. We look forward to an amazing 2-day summit and a gala dinner. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ernest de Graft Ejiri, the CEO of the Ghana CEO Network and the founder of the Ghana CEO Summit. Thank you very much for that very warm note of welcome. And so here it is for 2 inspirational days. You, our very cherished CEOs, will get the chance to be able to interact and integrate with world-class subject matter experts to foster knowledge, sharing, partnerships, and synergies that will drive increased personal and organizational growth. This morning, we take the pleasure in welcoming into our midst our cherished partners, Deloitte. And to speak to us on behalf of this great organization, it's my pleasure to invite its CEO, Mr. Charles Labi.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Ministers of State, members of the Diplomatic Corps, CEOs, captains of industry, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks another significant milestone in the history of this illustrious country. Today, under the auspices of the Chief Executive Network Limited and its partners, we've managed to bring a good majority of the biggest brains and movers of the economy of this dear country under one roof, and Deloitte is proud to be part of this endeavor. The concept of a CEO summit synchronizes with our priorities of growing Ghanaian organizations to become global, world-class enterprises that can compete at every stage with any international blue-chip company. For this reason, we as Deloitte made a decision to partner in the implementation of the CEO Summit. We believe this will lend an opportunity to work together with the CEOs to build the efficient, agile institutions that will ultimately impact the economy of this country. Nations worldwide, including Ghana, have recognized the development opportunities and the challenges of the emerging information age, characterized by diverse information and communication technologies. These technologies are driving national development efforts worldwide, and a number of countries in both the developed and developing world are exploring ways of facilitating their growth processes through the development, deployment, and exploitation of ICTs within their economies. The theme for the summit, Digital Innovation Economy for Business Growth, resonates with this recognition and also us as Deloitte, because digital transformation is our #1 client engagement theme in the African market. We in Deloitte are scaling our impact to lift digital transformation to our clients and mobilize all our service areas and industry teams to deliver on it. Digital is actually for us an integrated market offering. As a firm, Deloitte has been in the business of helping clients excel in whatever businesses they do. We are a professional services firm engaged in serving clients in the area of audit and accounting, tax, risk advisory, financial advisory, and management consulting. As knowledge partners, we recognize the summit to be an important step in driving major economic and social ideas exchange among key decision makers in Ghana who have hitherto been addressed in silos. We see the summit is therefore a unique opportunity to harness innovative ideas that have been festering among peer CEOs in Ghana. I urge all to contribute to explore and more seriously to ensure we position ourselves in order to move the great ideas and suggestions of the summit from intent to action. The summit will also give all CEOs an opportunity to learn. From a survey done by Belson Mastella of about 1,155 CEOs, expectations for new CEOs' performance are becoming greater and higher, while time horizons are becoming shorter and shorter. Nearly half, or 48%, of a company's reputation is attributed to a CEO's reputation. The exit of a mistrusted CEO can often boost the share price of a company by 15% to 25%, implicitly raising enormous expectations for the CEO's performance. Our research also confirms that new CEOs are given on average 8 months to develop strategic vision, 9 months to earn employees' trust, 14 months to execute on first 100 days promises, 19 months to increase share price, and 21 months to turn a company around. The annual CEO turnover rate has increased from 5% in the 90s to 17% in 2015. The average CEO tenure has reduced from 9 years in the 1990s to 4.8 years in 2015. It is interesting to note that the top 100 CEOs, as identified by Harvard Business Review in November 2016, had an average tenure of 17 years, while the market is less tolerant of lackluster CEOs. The really good guys stay for significantly longer periods. If as CEOs, we avoid some common pitfalls, such as poorly identifying and articulating what we want to accomplish as CEOs, failing to understand how the organization competes and wins, neglecting the creation of a clever vision for the company, not establishing how decisions will be made with the top executive team, failing to understand and engage key constituencies To name a few, we will be on our way to establishing the world-class organization we consistently talk about. Our main priority with the summit is to work with and help develop Ghanaian organizations into world-class global companies in order for them to make an impact that matters. Deloitte brings to the table tremendous insight gained over years of interactions with CEOs, undertaking CEO service, writing CEO thought leadership, and engaging with this group across various continents of the globe where Deloitte is located. As knowledge partners, we will contribute to the summit by providing industry experts for the various panels and sector roundtable discussions, while offering Deloitte insight on these topics. We will also introduce to you the Deloitte CEO Labs, which form part of the Deloitte Executive Institute. The Deloitte Executive Institute offers unique executive transition labs based on Deloitte's extensive research on CXO transitions. The CEO Lab has an agenda tailored to the particular needs and challenges faced by the CEO. The discussions covered during the lab helps the CEO to understand where they are on their own leadership journey, exploring how to build high-performing teams and other critical areas such as strategy, operating model, operating excellence, and innovation. We encourage all of you to register with the Deloitte team and take advantage of the compressed version of the CEO Labs that will be running in a breakout room right behind us. The sessions will be held during all the tea and lunch breaks over the 2 days of the conference. Please feel free to come in with your tea and participate. Please make sure you enjoy the summit. Do not hold back on your ideas, and let's hold hands together to build an excellent and efficient corporate Ghana. Thank you very much.
And one more time, let's appreciate the CEO of Deloitte Ghana, our learning partner, Mr. Charles Labi, for articulating well their company's commitment to moving this summit from intent to action and to make available their tremendous insight in business for the benefit of all of us. I believe they deserve another round of applause. Thank you. We now move to a very perplexing issue: corporate governance, a pillar for strong growth. Speaking to us is the Group CEO of Fidelity Group, a man who served in the corporate world for over 20 years, and ladies and gentlemen, has headed this great organization for the past 18 years. It gives me great joy to welcome to speak to us Mr. Edward Ifa.
Thank you. I need to see the slide, so I'll be walking around whilst I present. But first of all, welcome distinguished CEOs of Ghana, corporate Ghana, to this event. And I'd like to congratulate Ernest for his energy and his passion and enthusiasm in bringing all of us together. All protocols observed, ministers of state and anybody else who's here with us. I've been given just a few minutes to talk about corporate governance in Ghana. And I think Mr. Labi made some very good points about how we build a world-class corporate Ghana. We have a very diverse group of people in the room, so as much as possible, I would like to emphasize that this may not be very relevant to, say, multinationals in Ghana. It's more relevant to Ghanaian companies. And by Ghanaian companies, I mean companies which have been founded in Ghana and are based in Ghana, whether they're owned by Ghanaians or whether they're Lebanese or Indian or whatever, they're Ghanaian companies, and they're not branches of multinationals, because many multinationals have their own corporate governance, which is far more advanced than what we have in Ghana. And we need to raise the bar when it comes to corporate governance in Ghana so that we can compete and build global world-class companies. So briefly, without boring you, I'll also try and make the presentation as relevant as possible to our own environment and the challenges we have in our own environment. So corporate governance, everybody knows what corporate governance is. It's by and large how a company is governed. And the way a company is governed makes a difference between success and failure. If a company is well governed, it'll be very successful. If a company isn't well governed, it is dead on arrival. And as we go on, we'll explain what this means. The history of corporate governance is such that in the olden days in North America and Europe, wherever, everybody owned their business. And they put in all the capital and they didn't share risk. Over time, as businesses grew, people began to bring on other shareholders. And therefore, there was a distinction between ownership and management. And with that meant risks and protection of shareholders. Then, with that, you had a number of corporate scandals. People raising lots of money for a gold venture, for different ventures, and absconding with the money. So you've had all kinds of challenges from Union Carbide to Enron and all the rest of them. So with that began the establishment of a body of knowledge on corporate governance and corporate governance principles and what is best practice and so on and so forth. So you have the Cadbury Report in the UK, you have the King Report of South Africa, you've got different codes in different countries. In Ghana, we've got the Stock Exchange Code, the SEC and others. Now, this slide is very important because corporate governance often means different things to different people because you've got a wide variety of people or wide variety of companies, some very small, some huge, listed, and they all need different levels of corporate governance. So, in Ghana, I'm speaking both as a banker who lends to companies, as a private equity investor. Our private equity fund has invested in many companies. And also, once upon a time, I used to be an auditor with Deloitte. So we've audited companies and we have seen what has gone wrong and what they've fallen short of. So if you take your typical sole trader and I'll be giving local examples, your Peru businessman or Ashanti businessman who goes to bring tiles from China or whatever, what sort of corporate governance does he need? It's a husband and wife team. All they need at that level is good accounting. It could be a husband and wife board and so on and so forth, but they need good accounting so that when they go to a bank to borrow, the bank can establish the turnover and the business and what assets they have and how they can lend money to them. As that business grows, and we do see a lot of that, they need to change from that structure of husband and wife on the board and maybe a son joins them to more established corporate governance structures and have a diversified board, have expertise and skills, because when your turnover begins to cross, say, $1 million a month, you're no longer an SME, you're becoming an established corporate, and you need to be able to, no bank will lend you money if we're taking a risk on you of $5 million plus, and it's a one-man band. So first of all, you are limited in what you can borrow from a bank. Secondly, you're limited in what sort of shareholders you can have, because nobody will invest in you if you're a one-man band. But the moment you begin to look at the company and you've got an established, strong management team with diverse skills, you begin to make progress, you begin to build an institution, you begin to leave a legacy which will go beyond you. The challenge we've had in Ghana over the years, previous slide please. The challenge we've had in Ghana over the years is we've been stuck on the left side of this diagram, where if you look at Ghana in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we have had lots of SMEs. They have all collapsed when the owner died. If you look back in the 80s and the 90s, we had many construction firms, oil contractors and what have you. We had, when I was young, many of the wealthy people were timber contractors. None of them have been able to grow and progress. We've also had a lot of state-owned companies, state housing corporations, state farms, different state companies. Many of them have collapsed, and we've been stuck at that on the left-hand side of the diagram, we haven't been able to metamorphose and grow into an established institution. And the difference between us and the other institutions, global institutions who have been able to grow significantly, is because they made that leap from being an owner-managed company, one-man band, into a global company. And if we take Google, we all use Google, founded by Larry Page and his partner. They were technical people. After a few years, Google became one of the leading search engines in the world. When they saw the potential, and this happens to Facebook, this happened to many other global companies, they brought in Eric Schmidt, who was a seasoned manager who had managed global firms, to bring in the discipline, to bring in the structures, to ensure that Google could move on. And today, Google, everybody is using Google. They've metamorphosed from being just a search engine into one of the leading software companies in the world. And we need to see more Ghanaian companies moving from being owner-managed husband and wife teams into companies which bring in professional management, create boards, bring in the diversity of skills which are needed to move the company from being a good small company into an institution which will go beyond the shores of Ghana. So we have different levels of corporate governance for those smaller companies, owner-managed small companies, to the public companies where we have shareholders, we have the ability to raise money, and that is when companies really leapfrog and move into the world-class standards we're all looking to achieve. More recently, corporate governance has been focusing also more on the company being more than just for profit for the shareholders. So they look after all the stakeholders, and quite often we forget that companies or economies grow because of strong companies, not because of governments. And we'll come back to that. Economies grow because of a strong private sector. And in companies, in countries where they've developed a strong private sector, they've seen more economic growth. All governments can do is create the enabling environment. And if we don't have a strong private sector and we don't respond to the enabling environment, we will continue to remain poor. So if you take a lot of companies, whether it's Tigo or MTN or Unilever or what have you, even though they may have employees of 2,000, they create jobs for another maybe 50,000 people because there are distributors, there are people in the supply chain who get a job from security services, including Fidelity Bank. We have over 1,000 agents across the country. And therefore, it is so important that with the right corporate governance, all the stakeholders, employees, distributors, suppliers, people in the value chain, they're all looked after, and the company is fair to them. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I won't go through a lot of detail on a lot of some of the points I've touched on, but there's a body of knowledge on good corporate governance. There's a King report. I've touched on Sarbanes-Oxley, UK Corporate Governance Code, and the Cadbury report. I think they can be referred to. Next slide, please. So a critical piece of governance is the board, and the ability to establish a board with a diversity of skills, the know-how and the knowledge, and not a husband and wife team. And also, when it comes to our public sector boards, let me recognize the presence of our senior minister, Mr. Yao Safo-Mafo, former Minister of Finance of Ghana. Thank you for being with us. Many of the leadership of the new government are very interested in supporting the private sector, and would like to thank Mr. Yao Safo-Mafo for being here, and His Excellency the President in all the support he's giving to the private sector. A round of applause again for him, please. So the former managing director of the World Bank made a very profound statement that the governance of companies is more important than the governance of countries when it comes to economic growth of countries. And that is very profound. Ghana, I think we've made a lot of progress when it comes to our democracy, which is very important without a doubt, in terms of elections being smooth, the legislature and all that, and creating the enabling environment. But if we're not able to work on the governance of companies and move companies from being SMEs, which is what 99% of Ghanaian companies are, into companies with the right structures who can become listed, who can grow out of Ghana and become global players, we will not grow and we will not be able to create wealth. So to be able to perform and to grow significantly, you need the right corporate governance, and that often means putting together at a certain point. If you're a small trader, you may not need a board and all the structures, but at the point when you are ready for, say, a listing, you need to put in place the right structures, the right corporate governance, the right skills of people on your board, and that is extremely important, and a board that works together, focused on growing the company and driving the company to a different level. There are many other points there, but the key point is that corporate governance helps companies to perform and become global companies. Next slide, please. Corporate governance is so critical because without governance, most companies get stuck in being SMEs. And that means they're not able to go beyond a certain scale and ability. And why is it important? We are poor because we don't have enough companies which can pay significant taxes. The American government or other governments have large companies which can pay $500 million in taxes. There are very few Ghanaian companies of that scale. And until we are able to move and create jobs and create the networks and employ people through the supply chains and all the rest of it, and through that you get even more SMEs working for a large company, whether it's a Fidelity or whether it's an MTN or whoever. So we need to create large companies so that we can have the linkages and the networks to be able to create wealth and create jobs. If I take Fidelity Bank as an example, in 10 years, we have paid nearly $100 million in taxes. And this is far more than the dividends we have earned as shareholders. And this $100 million in taxes is taxes we pay on employees. We have 1,500 employees. We pay taxes every month. We have corporate taxes we pay. There are other indirect taxes like VAT, which we pay. And these taxes would not have been paid if there was no Fidelity. There was no institution there creating wealth. And indirectly, there are suppliers, there are agents, there are maybe another 20,000 people who are part of the supply chain of the service we offer, and they're all paying taxes. So it is in our national interest, not just our selfish interest, in our national interest that we create Ghanaian champions. We create, if I may say, Ghanaian Unilevers, Ghanaian Nestles, Ghanaian what have you, Ghanaian champions. And trying to create large Ghanaian companies is not about nationalism, it's not about protection. It's in the interest of multinationals in Ghana to come to a country where the private sector is strong. No multinational goes to a country where there's a weak private sector, and it's easier for a multinational to come to Ghana and say, I want to do $1 billion project, and a Ghanaian company to put down $1 billion, and together they go together. They're taking risk, they're sharing risk. So it's important that when we try and emphasize the importance of building Ghanaian champions, we're not seen as being nationalistic and self-serving. There's a lot in there, but I think we've summarized most of them about the importance of corporate governance, the effectiveness of boards, why boards fail, and why it is important that we do the right things. And it's only by doing the right things that we can build companies which will go beyond the founder, companies which can become global in scale, companies which will be listed, and so on and so forth. We've talked a bit about many. If you look at most of the companies in Ghana in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, which are Ghanaian, many of them have not been able to go beyond the founder. We also need to improve the corporate governance of public sector companies. Public sector companies, many of them have not been well run, and many of them do not have the right boards. Many years ago, I was doing a presentation to Ghana Airways. The board was made up of members of parliament, There was a chief on the board, as in a traditional chief, and so on and so forth. During the presentation, 2 of the directors were asleep and snoring loudly. A company like that will have challenges. They haven't got the expertise, and you cannot compare them with any of the airlines we know, whether it's a KLM or a British Airways, and the quality of people they have on their board. And it is not surprising Ghana Airways run into difficulties, because with the right board, they'll be able to understand the risks, the challenges the company is facing, and put together the right solutions. In the interest of time, I'll skip any of the slides, and we'll have a quick look at a video, Why Boards Fail. Thank you.
When running an organisation, it is important to have a board of directors who work well together. Making the right decisions and knowing what to do is called good corporate governance. This ensures that the company and everyone involved is making honest choices in the best interests of the stakeholders. So what makes a board of directors succeed? Let's look at the top 10 reasons why they don't. The first reason boards fail is not having the right people. Some directors might not have the relevant skills or experience, or they might not understand the importance of their role and responsibilities as a director. A board of directors is only as good as the people who sit on them. The second reason is not keeping directors up to date with recent developments. Directors need to know their roles and responsibilities. This includes understanding financial reports. Directors should never be kept in the dark. Directors should always be informed, and new directors must be trained and equipped with the right information to help them fulfil their duties. The third reason is not knowing the rules of the organisation. The company constitution is like a rule book. It tells the directors, management and the staff what the organisation can and can't do and how it should operate. All directors should be encouraged to learn the rules and know how to change the ones that don't provide good results for the organisation. 4. Another reason is not making decisions in the best interests of the organisation. The chairperson and the directors need to promote responsible decision making. Effective decision making will keep the company strong and will allow it to grow and prosper. Reason number 5 is not recognising potential problems and risks that might threaten the organisation. By identifying any problems, directors can ensure the organisation is well prepared to weather any storm. Whether it's finances, management, staff or physical environment, directors must know how to deal with problems as they arise. A good way to do this is to keep a checklist of potential problems, risks, ways of dealing with them if they arise. Reason number 6 is not using the organisation's assets responsibly. Assets and funds belong to the organisation, not one individual or the board of directors. Directors should ensure assets and funds are used effectively to keep the organisation strong. This will leave a lasting impression on banks, government and suppliers. If assets and funds are used in the wrong way, the organisation will become weak and may not survive. The 7th reason boards fail is neglecting to pay taxes. Tax matters should be handled correctly. Tax and superannuation must be paid on time. Not reporting correctly can lead to financial penalties, cash flow problems, and angry taxmen. Having people who understand taxes will help to address these issues. Reason number 8 is not knowing the organisation's financial position. Financial reports indicate if funds are being managed properly. If directors are worried about the organisation's financial position, they should talk to the company auditor. Reason number 9 is trying to do everything at once. Directors need to have a clear direction on where the organisation is heading. Board governance takes time and priorities must be set years in advance. All boards should have a good idea of the organisation's mission and what success looks like. Directors and management should work in partnership to establish key goals and priorities. 10. The final reason boards fail is a lack of teamwork. Directors and management must work together. If conflict and tension arises, it can interfere with the board's ability to make decisions. Constructive conflict can improve the decisions made because it's valuable to consider many points of view. Sticking to a well thought out strategic plan will give the board a direction and will minimise conflict. Good governance is made up of many different elements: teamwork, communication, transparency, financial audits. A code of ethics and effective reporting contributes towards an effective and productive board. And a productive board means a successful and profitable organisation.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So we've seen why boards fail, and we've seen a lot of board failures in Ghana. Sometimes when you read the papers these days and in the past, you get surprised at some of what you read, whether it's real. Recently, I was reading about, I think, a director of PURC who was arguing that nearly 500,000 cedis ended up in his account by accident. And maybe the newspaper got it wrong, and other such stories. But the main message is that we need to build Ghanaian champions. To be able to build Ghanaian champions, we need to do the right thing in terms of corporate governance. Otherwise, if we do the wrong things, we'll get the wrong results. It's that simple. And what happens when we get it wrong? When we put the wrong people on wrong boards, we do end up with disaster. And in the past, we'll quickly also look at some of the challenges and some of the global disasters which have occurred because the wrong people were in charge of global companies. So companies are, by and large, and always run for shareholders' interest, and the shareholders want to maximize their profits. And quite often, when this interest has been short-term, and the company hasn't taken into account all the long-term consequences of short-term profit maximization, it has often put them into trouble because they overlooked other stakeholders. So it's important that the interest of shareholders is always balanced with the interest of the society at large, distributors, suppliers, the community and the environment, employees, and other stakeholders in companies. So the main message is that we need the private sector to be alive. We need the private sector to do the right things. We need the private sector in Ghana, the Ghanaian private sector, to move from being owner-managed SMEs into taking the next step, the larger ones, into bringing on the right people on boards, enlisting in becoming bigger institutions which will go beyond the owners, which has been the bane of the private sector in Ghana for the last 20, 30 years. Thank you very much.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Edward Ifa, the Group CEO of Fidelity Group. We say many thanks to you for that very stimulating presentation and for walking us through a historical account of our corporate governance situation here in Ghana, identifying the various challenges, and most importantly, prescribing those very hard truths for us to be able to adopt succession planning and recruiting the right caliber of the board, which would influence the productivity and much more than that, the world-class status of our companies. But ladies and gentlemen, just adding to that, I had the chance of looking through the February edition of the Africa Business Report. And ladies and gentlemen, may I just submit to you that out of the 500 top companies in Africa, 8 came from Ghana. Takwa Mines, VRA, GOIL, Total Petroleum, MTN Ghana, Produce Buying Company, and Golden Star Resources. I believe they deserve a round of applause. But I'm very convinced that by the end of this second summit of CEOs, we shall be poised to do better, and we shall be able to grow our companies because of what we've learned here, and we shall add to these numbers. Don't we agree? All right. So this morning, I'm also pleased to celebrate the contribution of our partners and our sponsors. Allow me to acknowledge our platinum sponsors: Fidelity Bank, Prudential Life Insurance, Tigo Business, The Exchange, The Margins Group, AFND International, Universal Container Services and Structures, IBM, Group Ideal, and Comfu. How about a resounding round of applause? For our gold sponsors, we say thank you to Vanguard Assurance, Puma Energy, ANC Development, Atlas Rent-A-Car. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it up for them. Our silver sponsor, Omnibank, Enterprise Life, SGSSB, Absca Power Generation, West Blue Consult, Nielsen, Surfline, MultiChoice, Nalem, and Delta Airlines. Let's hear it up for them too. And for bronze, MTN Ghana, First Bank, Vodafone, Herbalife, Apollonia, Zenith Bank, Deftraco Plus, GOIL, Busy, Managing Ghana, UT Life, Stallion Group, Akriti Ghana, Shell Card, Specialized, Topcore Security, Barclays Ghana, Global Access, Engine, Melcom, Amaris, and Inesfly. Please, let's celebrate them too. But now I come to our media partners, Star FM, DDP, iStream Live, Ghana Web, Daily Graphic, GBC, Joy FM, the multimedia, Joy FM Online, Joy TV, and Impact Hub. And ladies and gentlemen, our partners, Deloitte, Kempinski, IVET, and the Oxford Business Group. Let's hear it up for all of them together. This morning, may I officially introduce to you our guest of honor, who is standing in for the President of the Republic. Please say a big hello and welcome to Ghana's Senior Minister, the Honorable Yao Osafo-Maafo. We say welcome, sir, and we trust that your time here will be worth the while. In the company of our Senior Minister, it gives me great joy to acknowledge to you Ghana's Minister for Business Development, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Ibrahim Awal. Thank you, sir. And also with us this morning in the company of our guest of honor is Ghana's Deputy Minister for Finance, the Honorable Kweku Kwarteng. Thank you. And so our guest of honor, we've just been deliberating on the theme, Digital Innovation Economy for Business Growth. We've had a very stimulating talk from our partners on the need to be able to scale up our businesses, and they bringing their years of expertise to bear. And then we've just had this great talk on corporate governance, a pillar for strong growth. We now lay the foundation for what is going to happen here for the next few inspirational minutes, a talk on the theme, Digital Innovation Economy for Business Growth. It gives me great joy now to give to you the speaker for this, the CEO of the Margins Group, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Moses Baiden. Unless you have something against him, please, another round of applause will do.
Our Honorable Senior Minister, Yawasafu Mahafu, our Minister for Business, Honorable Mohammed Awao, the Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable Kweku Kwarteng, CEOs, captains of industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Let's think about the word revolution. In 1789, when that word was altered, it was for political revolution. But underlying the expression of that revolution, there was the rebellu in Latin, which means to turn things around. There was an industrial revolution that impacted the world and expanded economies. That first revolution was with coal, textile, and the steam engine. The second industrial revolution was even much more wider in its impact. There was a telephone, there was the combustion engine, and there were mechanical and analog devices that automated production. In these two revolutions, Africa and Ghana did not take part or take any significant part in it. Those revolutions relied on the traditional factors of labor, capital, and land. But as we shifted from rural and agrarian economies to industrial revolutions, there was a third revolution. This revolution was in the 20th century and started from the 1980s with computers and later on the internet. This became known as the ICT revolution. In this age, we are said to be in the fourth revolution, which is the mother of all revolutions, because we have moved from a material economy to a dematerialized economy. And a dematerialized economy, everything that we knew it has changed. The way we communicate, the way we conduct businesses is no longer face-to-face. We're working across complex networks, accessing resources, and communicating, working in teams and as individuals, identifying ourselves electronically and protecting our data with complex cryptography and public key infrastructure. This is the digital age. In this age, Africa and Ghana can contribute to make a significant impact, because this age is not confounded by unaffordable capital, but is controlled by the content of our brains. Let me give you a few features of this age, about 12 essential features of this age. When we moved from materialism and started to scan analog information and combine this with digital information. When we did this, we learned to store it in the cloud, not on computers that we owned or had physically in our office. This advent of big data also heralded the development of complex algorithms, which are interpreting the data faster than a human mind, and ushered in artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence could solve problems that we did not even know existed as we slept. And today, advanced robotics makes the machines, which think almost like humans, and in some disciplines, even faster than humans, are doing complex works as we speak and expanding our economies. The Internet of Things, machine-to-machine learning, ensures that machines are talking to themselves, disrupting supply chain, guessing what the next product is, and connecting to the internet to figure out what you think about, what you want, and how you behave, in order to profile you, to sell you services on a digital platform that you can't see, but is always present with you on your digital devices. This is the digital age. Add to that blockchain an electronically distributed ledger that has computers involved in the transaction, electronically validating all transactions, such that they are tamper-proof and cannot be deleted or modified. It is said that blockchain is to business what the internet is for communication. We're in a whole different space. And in that space, Africa and Ghana cannot miss the opportunities that we've missed over the last 3 centuries. We cannot just be consumers of technology, but we must be inventors and contributors of the technology that we use. If we don't, our GDP will suffer and our economies will be marginalized. So, in the world that I just described, what is the role of government and private sector in this world? How can we collaborate? How can we expand our economy? And how can we connect to the global forces that shape this new 4th industrial revolution, the digital revolution? I must applaud the government for taking serious steps to kickstart the National ID project and the digital addressing system to create a trust infrastructure that is fundamental and so critical to a modern digitized economy. These 2 initiatives are critical. Why? Because they create the electronic identity that creates a verifiable, positive identity for e-commerce and for e-government. Without a trust identity, we are not able to transact business across multiple complex networks. For the government side, e-government will take away the frustrations that citizens face in accessing basic government services, which others take for granted. The acquisition of passports, driver's license, the registration of vehicles, the paying of taxes, the paying of even fines for driving should not disrupt our day and should not go through an interface that is human, that brings about corruption and forces us to pay bribes. The leveraging of a digital platform for e-government services will accelerate the velocity of our economic expansion and remove the bottlenecks and negativity that is associated with bad governance. Now, on the private sector side, this 4th industrial revolution gives us the opportunity to work on a digital platform and advance the already moving train, which has left the station for e-commerce. This age is described by some business people as the age of infrastructureless scaling, which simply means that companies with intellectual property, with good understanding of the digital ecosystem, can scale globally without building physical infrastructure. And I'll give you a few examples. Uber is the biggest taxi company without taxis. Google, the world's biggest library with no shelves of books. Facebook is the world's biggest publisher and probably its biggest biometric engine because it has all our faces, all 2 billion of us. And with location services, they can actually tell who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. Airbnb is said to be the world's biggest hotel group, but it has no hotels. I can go on and on. Amazon gives a retail experience that is just a digital platform with algorithms that can think of what you need before you even think about it. Add to that the world's biggest movie theater, Netflix, which is a movie theater without any theaters and gives us the experience of theater on demand. If this age does not need the difficulties that we faced in the last 250 years, which is capital, it makes this as our time. This is a time when Ghana and Africa can use our competitive advantage in demographics to advance our cause and to expand our economy onto the level where it's not recognizable. Let me give you a few statistics on the effect of digitization on GDP. Doubling the digitization index score for the poorest citizens over 10 years in Ghana will move us to the first world in a decade. According to research, if emerging markets could double the digitization index score for their poorest citizens over the next 10 years, the result will be a global 4.4 trillion gain in nominal GDP, an extra 930 billion in the cumulative household income for the poorest, and 64 million new jobs for today's socially and economically most marginalized groups. This would enable 580 million people to climb above poverty. All aspects of our lives will be significantly improved by digitizing our economy. There's much more I could say, but I think that you get a picture. The question then is, what is the role of government and how can government be a market maker for this digital age in order to allow the private sector to expand? The role of government primarily, the first should be formulating and implementing the right policies to usher in a new era of enlightenment that puts the Ghanaian and the national interest first. We cannot expect others to develop our countries for us. All governments proclaim that the national interest is their primary objective. But the evidence over the years has not led to concrete advancement. In a fragile economy such as ours, good policies have become hostages to politics over the last 60 years. The result has been high unemployment and lack of wealth-generating innovation. We are in the era of collaborative competition, and most of our problems have already been solved by other nations. Let us collaborate with other enlightened and forward-looking countries in governance and in business, but as equal partners, not as beggars, always looking first at our national interest. As Senior Minister representing the President, we agree with you that we do not need aid. We want our dignity, we want a working and performance-driven economy in which we can work hard to earn our keep and to create wealth. Government must also be interested in education because this digital age is fueled by knowledge. Let us reform our education system fundamentally. Let us deepen the civic education of the youth and transform their values and work ethics and optimize their curriculum and make the education more pragmatic and suitable for this digital age. The content needed is everywhere on the internet. Let us improve internet access to cover all education institutions 100% so that with just a little guidance, the youth can access the right information and grow their brain power. Let's believe in work, productivity, performance, and a meritocracy as the only way to live a fulfilled and productive life. I believe that with the right vision, focus, and determination, we can, in only a decade, focus on the adolescents and children population of Ghana from 0 to 19, which is already 48% of our population. If we focus on these, fill their heads with the right content, knowledge, and tools, enable them to compete at the highest level globally, it will lift this country to the first world. The statistics is in our favor. Let us not enter this digital revolution from the rear. Let us take the vanguard and let us push it and have the needed effect on our economy. The role of law is also the third way in which governments can use legislation and law as a tool to take advantage of this fourth industrial revolution. We have all the laws that we need in Ghana, but we must align them and make sure that the laws support this age, that they're flexible enough to support the opportunities that are created here. Intellectual property underlies the value of these companies that I just mentioned. If intellectual property underlies these values, it means that we should have a judicial system that's transparent and open and fair and quick and efficient. Because if we do not have that, Ghana and Africa will be an unattractive destination for building these modern companies. If we do build an incorruptible judiciary, the bright children of today and tomorrow will move their talent to more open and accountable societies where they can protect their intellectual property and get value for their intellect. So how do we create the right environment? We can see that many Africans, including Ghanaians, are actually contributing to the digital age, but they are not doing it in Ghana. Thomas Mensah, who was one of a team of 4 who developed the fiber optics, without which the digital age as we know it today would not exist, worked with a team of 3 other Americans in America and not in Ghana. Professor Kwabena Edu-Boahene of Stanford, who was at the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, electrical engineering, and bioengineering, giving lectures all over the world to the leading classes in this area. He's doing that in America, not in Ghana. Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla, PayPal, and SpaceX, who at the age of 27 sold his first company for $300 million, and has now been, his company Tesla has been named as the most valuable car company in the USA. He's actually South African and Canadian, born in South Africa, lived there for 17 before going to Canada. So the question then is, why do Africans and Ghanaians have to leave this environment to go elsewhere to be successful? The answer is simple. It means that the environment does not respond to the needs of the private sector or the intellectuals that we need, whose mindset is going to follow us into the digital age. The senior minister means we have to do something about it. I can see the hallmarks of the foundations that you are building for the digital age, the National ID and Digital Addressing System. But this revolution is moving very quickly. We need to sanitize our environment in order to encourage our young brains to focus on the act of thinking so that we can create new products by combining existing technology and scaling globally without infrastructure. How the government and private sector then collaborate. This is a good start. I think that the public-private dialogue that is straightforward, objective, truthful, critical, and open can stand the basis of forging a new vision of public-private partnership in which the government and the private sector are true partners. Let me end by just mentioning 5 points on which I think this dialogue should be focused. Number 1, we should focus on our national competitive advantage. Number 2, constant change in such a fast-moving age means prioritizing to focus on key areas. Number 3, we should create innovation hubs between the public and private, designed to build capabilities to deliver in this area. Number 4, we should understand the investment decisions of the private sector, and government should develop policies and plans to complement them. Number 5, we should always look at the effects of this dialogue in order to provide feedback and progress reports so that we can quickly correct and get more accurately our vision and our direction. Our dialogue between the private sector and the government should focus on the creation a holistic digital infrastructure. Government should become a digital market maker for the private sector. Such a holistic ecosystem, as is being pursued now, will enable the public and private to be productive partners to grab the opportunities that governments can create regulations for and the private sector can perform using their skills, their experience, and risking their capital. I thank you all, and especially Ernest Digaf-Tejiri for organizing this CEO network. I thank Deloitte Ghana. It's a fantastic event, and it's a good place to exchange good ideas and move our country forward. I thank you all for listening.